everybody, this is Caitlin here, and welcome back to Card Game Wednesday, the day of the week where we enjoy all things card game related. And I thought that today I would put out a little small prediction video, because right about now, we're kind of slowly approaching the end of January, and since we know that Time Spinning Witch is going to be coming out in March, no confirmed date yet for March, it just says March. Normally I would think that it would be at the beginning of March, because that's normally where like releases fall. They're normally at the start of the month that they're coming out of, unless it's maybe being super awkward and weird and it's being near the end of the month or the middle. But 9 times out of 10 I feel like sets release in the beginning of the month, because normally they need to wait for pre-release, which is usually the weekend before, and depending on when days fall and whatnot, it could end up being basically in the previous month and whatnot. So I feel like it's going to be at the start of March. So I figured, hey, since they've kind of changed up the way that they're doing spoilers now, previously you only got them like a couple of times a week. Now we're getting like, well, the way that they worked it last time is that you got like, I think 4 cards each day going from Monday to Friday. So they spoiled the set a lot quicker that way. But I think that was mainly because Advent of the Demon King didn't have many, I don't think it had any reprints at all, save for the starter deck ruler reprints, which were the quote-unquote secret rares in the box, the buy-a-box ones, or the one-a-box, you know, promo rare, whatever you want to call it. So I feel like because of that, there probably won't be any more reprints in the set. I mean, it could be wrong. Maybe the name Time Spinning Witch will mean that yes, there might be some reprints, but I feel like they wouldn't do that. I feel like they'll save reprints, if they're going to do any more, for a future Vingolf. I know they're not. They said that they're not doing a Vingolf for the in-between stage. Currently, I think they're bringing out one more starter deck that we know of. People have been confused as to whether it is just the one starter deck or whether we're getting a new wave of starter decks. It seems to be just the one, because that's the only one that's been commented on. It's basically one that's called the Lost Tomes or something like that, or the Lost Time. Translation has been a little bit iffy and whatnot, but I believe it's the Lost Tome. So I feel like going off of that, we can maybe make some predictions as to what the rulers will be in the Time Spinning Witch. Now, going off of the description of the Lost Tomes, I would think, and I might be very, very wrong here, I think that the ruler will maybe be some form of Scheherazade. My reasoning for that is the Lost Tomes usually implies books. It implies, novels, magic and whatnot. And the Scheherazade that's been featured in the poster for Time Spinning Witch is carrying, obviously, a storybook, some kind of tome or whatnot. She's looking quite different from her previous incarnations. And I feel like maybe her feature on the poster is a bit of like a red herring. I feel like that maybe in Time Spinning Witch she's going to be a Resonator, and then in the Lost Tomes I think that she's going to be the starter deck ruler. So I'm putting that prediction out of the way. If it's not a completely new character or someone else, I feel like the ruler for the the ruler for the Lost Tome starter deck is actually going to be Scheherazade. Now, going into the actual Time Spinning Witch here, because of the way that obviously that we kind of got shown the kind of promo one-a-box kind of things, whatever, which were the 3 other starter decks. We had Gil, Tigris, and we had Rhea. I have a feeling that they're not going to do Rhea again. So obviously only one side of Rhea was unsealed in that kind of special version of her. I feel like they're not going to totally unseal her until the final part of Rhea Cluster, which would be a bit more iconic and everything. So I feel like that's the way that they're going to do it, because if it works out the way they've rotated it, we would go back to the beginning. So we have 3 new rulers for the box, and then we have 2 rulers that are starter deck rulers left. We have Carrick and Shayla. So off the bat, I'm going to say that Shayla and Carrick are going to be unsealed in this set for Time Spinning Witch. They are going to be your one-a-box, basically special promo rare that you're going to pull or whatever, your one-a-box. I feel like, and they're going to have alternate art, obviously, which would be weird, because obviously it would mean that we only have 2 promo versions of that. But I feel like maybe on the off chance you could say for your other promo you might get alternate artworks or something like that of maybe the other 3 rulers, just to make it a bit fair, so you're not, your random chance isn't like only 2 cards. At the same time, I feel like they might do something else, or maybe that it'll be like you've got a higher chance of pulling some of the first set's rulers as an Uber. They probably wouldn't do that as well. I feel like maybe it'd just be alternate art again, just to try and make it a bit easier to pull those rulers, because obviously you only got one in the box in the Ancient Knights. But moving on to the last 3 elements that we have darkness, we have light, and we have Wind. Now, because obviously I'm thinking Scheherazade is going to be the ruler for the Lost Tomes, I feel like she might be colourless, or she might be some kind of ruler which kind of splashes into all 5 colours, because it would be weird that they only bring out one starter deck after we've had a wave of starter decks that are basically covering our colours. So I feel like this new starter deck is going to be, if it's not colourless or void, I feel like it's going to be something that is meaning it can basically work for any colour. I feel like that would be the best way to kind of work it, or that way to balance it out. So if Scheherazade is actually going to be the ruler for the Lost Tomes, my guesses here is that for one, I think the dark, if we're not getting dual coloured rulers, because I feel like it would be weird for them to suddenly bring in dual coloured rulers again after we've had 2 sets of monocolour essentially. I feel like they'll just be single colour again. So I'm going to make a guess that the dark ruler is going to be this, either going to be the Time Spinning Witch herself, who we've not had a name yet. I still feel like it's Flute or some form of Flute, but I might be wrong here. So I'm thinking it's either going to be the Time Spinning Witch herself, who will be a new character, or I think it's going to be this version of Lumia that we see on the poster here. I know normally Lumia, she's maybe either light, or she's maybe, she's been fire, like, you know, she was light fire. She's also been fire on her own as well, or not fire on her own, light on her own. But I feel like she could potentially be darkness, because obviously Grimm is dark in this set, or rather in this cluster. He's a vampire. He's obviously kind of evil, or, you know, ambiguously evil. So I feel like maybe this Lumia might tie into that a little. Maybe she's also been corrupted, but she's not under the power of Rhea yet, or some other shenanigans that are going on. The kind of the flowers around her are kind of lotus flowers or whatnot. So I feel like it would maybe tie in a little bit to Rhea's motif if she is indeed, like, say, a fairy tale vampire or something like that. But I don't think she's going to be a vampire. I think she's going to have her own unique thing, maybe playing off of a little bit her Legacy Lost version of her, or maybe give her a completely different mechanic. I'm not quite sure what they would do with her yet, whether she would have to have her own, like, entire new Resonator race or kind of new gimmick that she would play off of. But I feel like for darkness, it'll definitely be either the Time Spinning Witch herself, if she's a new character, or perhaps it's going to be this Lumia. Moving on to light. Light has been really tricky for me. I've not been too sure exactly what we're going to get. It would be cool if we got, like, an upgraded Pandora off of the previous one from Golems, because I feel like she really needed some kind of, like, bit of an edge to her, but I don't think it's going to be Pandora. I think, just going off of it here, I think it could potentially be Almerius, if we are still in Grimm's world, and I'm going off the fact that maybe this is many years in the past. Almerius originally was obviously the wielder of light. She was originally the light magus before, I think before Zero got corrupted again. So I feel like maybe she could, like, pop up at some point, because we have, you know, some cards, obviously we're still in Rhea cluster whatnot. I feel like Rhea is definitely Zero. It's been practically confirmed, so I feel like maybe we would see our first glimpse of one of the proper, like, original 6 sages, and it could be Almerius, light, because obviously she was known as, like, the light magus previously in Grimm cluster. So I'm leaning towards that. I could be totally wrong. It might be just an entirely new character, or something like that. But I feel like it would be pretty cool if we got to see Almerius back in the day, you know, before she became, like, the spirit magus and all this stuff, and her thing was to do with sprites and spirits. So I think that would be really unique. And then the last colour would be Wind. Again, I'm not too sure what Wind would do. I feel like, judging by the poster, and if I'm right in thinking that Scheherazade might be the one for the starter deck, I'm not leaning into the Nyarlathotep or the kind of Red Riding Hood / Nyarlathotep one / Lunia character. I feel like she wouldn't suit the element of wind. She's more been like darkness, fire. She was light slightly when she was in her dual colored form, but I feel like it would be a brand new character, someone we've not seen before. Judging by the fact that it would be wind, I'm going to go off the fact that maybe it's another elf. I don't know if they would bring in another elf, considering that we just had an elf ruler in the first set. So maybe not an elf, but I feel like some other kind of wind kind of thing. Maybe like some kind of Pseudo Torrent one. Maybe not another Torrent Resonator, because obviously Feasting is still in the format. but it's very difficult to judge. So I feel like Wind will be a brand new character. I cannot say for certain what kind of character it would be. It'd be cool if it was some kind of character that kind of melded in well with either the elf mechanics or with Gil's spirit magic, because that way you wouldn't have to print a whole new set of cards to support this one ruler. It'd maybe be pretty cool to like mix and match, and that you wouldn't necessarily have to play Gil, but you could, but you'd have like an alternative option to it. But I feel like the Wind is going to be a brand new character. Someone we've not seen before. Not quite sure exactly what they could be. Maybe someone, heck, could even be Grubalesta. I mean, Grubalesta, he's been Wind and he's been Dark. So he could even work, but I feel like I'm leaning more towards it being a new character. I'm actually leaning towards most of these new rulers being new characters, but it's just the fact that 3 of the characters that are featured on the poster are pretty much characters that we've seen before, and I feel like either they're putting this out as a red herring and they're all just resonators and it's just going to like throw us off the bat here, or it is in fact actually new rulers. But I feel like maybe all 3 of them being rulers wouldn't really work. I feel like maybe at least 2 of them are going to be rulers, maybe also including the time-spinning witch herself, who I still think is Flute, but because of the silhouette, she looks very different to what Flute looks like, and she's not got like horns on her head or anything like that, so I could be very wrong there, and it's not actually Flute. I would love it to be Flute though if it was, because I need more Flute in my life, and I need her to actually play a part in the story, because she sadly didn't play a part in Lapis Cluster. She basically did nothing, and that was like unresolved, and I was upset about that and everything. But I would really like it if we got some kind of inkling as to whether this is indeed Grim World, and maybe we're just thousands of years in the past, if it's an alternate Grim World and all that stuff. But hopefully, guys, we get a bit more explanation story-wise as to what the heck is happening in Time Spinning Witch, because right now I'm not quite sure where we're leading into. Obviously, we've got the Demon King showing up in Advent of the Demon King. All the Dark Elves are dead, essentially. Pandora's sealed in her little bubble thing or whatever. We're not too sure yet if we're at the point where Gil is going to turn into Alhamat, or turn evil, or go rogue, or something like that. But I feel like we're slowly closing in here. I feel like the way that this Raya cluster has built up is very strange, and I'm not quite sure where the story is going. It is a little bit all over the place, so I have no idea where the story is going. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it shows that, either they don't know where the story is going either, or maybe just keep us on our toes a little bit. But let me know, guys, what you think. Do you have any predictions as to who the rulers will be in the box? I'm predicting we'll have 3 standard rulers. Carrick and Shayla will be the one-a-box special promo thing, and they will have their sealed abilities unsealed, and they'll probably have alternate artworks as well. Knowing Force of Will, they're probably going to stick in the original artwork from the starter decks as well and have it unsealed, so that you have potentially 4 different cards. But at the same time, I think it would be a little bit lame if that happened. But I don't know. It just depends on what you guys feel like. But let me know down below what you think of my prediction and everything. Maybe even leave your predictions here, and we'll see when the set is slowly being revealed and released who was right and who was wrong. So until next time, guys, I will see you all later.